Let's learn how to master Spanish irregular verbs. In the first part of this video, I'm going to teach you how to conjugate and use irregular verbs in the present tense. Then, you'll watch a fun story about a girl traveling abroad for the first time. Stay tuned to find out if she ever makes it to her destination. And finally, you'll watch the story again with English subtitles to check your comprehension. Let's get started. First, let's cover the basics. What's an irregular verb? Well, it's a verb where the stem or the root part of the verb changes when it's conjugated. Let's start with AR verbs. There are two possible stem changes here, from E to IE, like the verb cerrar, or from O to UE, like with almorzar. The endings you add to the root are the same as for regular verbs. So for AR irregular verbs, you add o, as, a, amos, ais, or an. If you want to revisit the endings when conjugating AR verbs, go watch this other video. Today, let's focus on stem changes. We've seen the basic AR endings, so let's move on to irregular verbs. Let's start with the AR verbs that go from E to IE. These are verbs like empezar, to start, pensar, to think, calentar, to heat, negar, to deny, and cerrar, to close. Let's focus on the verb cerrar. The original root is cer, which changes to cierre when conjugated in the first person. Yo cierro, I close. So the whole conjugation would be the following. Yo cierro, I close. Tú cierras, you close. Él, ella cierra, he, she closes. Usted cierra, you close. Interestingly, the nosotros, we, and vosotros, you all forms are not affected by these stem changes. Nosotros cerramos, we close. Vosotros cerráis, you close. Ellos, ellas cierran, they close. Ustedes cierran, you close. The same goes for the other AR verbs we saw, like empezar, where the root goes from empez to empiez. So it becomes yo empiezo, I start. In the case of pensar, the root turns from pens to piens. So it becomes yo pienso, I think. And of course, the nosotros and vosotros forms retain the original root. So for empezar, it would be nosotros empezamos and vosotros empezáis. And for pensar, it's nosotros pensamos and vosotros pensáis. For stem changes from O to UE, let's check out the verb almorzar, to have lunch. Yo almuerzo, tú almuerzas. Él, ella almuerza. Usted almuerza. Nosotros almorzamos. Vosotros almorzáis. Ellos, ellas almuerzan. Ustedes almuerzan. As we can see, the root changes from almorz to almuerz. So from O to UE. Likewise, encontrar becomes yo encuentro, I find. Recordar becomes yo recuerdo, I remember. And as we've seen before, the nosotros and vosotros forms retain the original root. For recordar, it's nosotros recordamos and vosotros recordáis. So, for encontrar, it would be nosotros encontramos and vosotros encontráis. Pay special attention to the verb jugar, to play, which is a slight exception. In this case, the stem changes from U to UE, so the conjugation is as follows. Yo juego, tú juegas. Él, ella juega. Usted juega. Nosotros jugamos. Vosotros jugáis. Ellos, ellas juegan. Ustedes juegan. That's all there is to know about AR verbs, so let's move on to ER verbs. But before looking at irregular verbs, let's check out the usual ER conjugations. The endings you add to the root are the same as for regular verbs, so you add o, es, hemos, eis, or en. If you want to know more about ER verbs, check out this other video. Now that we know basic ER endings, let's move on to irregular verbs. This time, we have 3 possibilities for stem changes, the first one being from E to IE. These are verbs like perder, to lose, tener, to have, and entender, to understand. Let's focus on the verb entender. The root changes from entend to entiende. Here's the whole conjugation. Yo entiendo. Tú entiendes. Él, ella entiende. Usted entiende. Nosotros entendemos. Vosotros entendéis. Ellos, ellas entienden. Ustedes entienden. The same rules apply to perder, to lose, which becomes yo pierdo, I lose. Remember, nosotros and vosotros are the only pronouns that keep the original root. The verb tener, to have, is extra irregular. Let's take a look at the whole conjugation. Yo tengo, tú tienes. Él, ella tiene. Usted tiene. Nosotros tenemos. Vosotros tenéis. Ellos, ellas tienen. Ustedes tienen. The next root change for ER verbs is from O to UE. Some examples are poder, to be able to, volver, to go back, mover, to move, and devolver, to return something. Let's focus on the verb devolver. The root changes from devolve to devuelve. Here's the whole conjugation. Yo devuelvo. Tú devuelves. Él, ella devuelve. Usted devuelve. Nosotros devolvemos. Vosotros devolvéis. Ellos, ellas devuelven. Ustedes devuelven. The verb poder, to be able to, follows the same rules. So, I am able to is yo puedo. Can you guess what the nosotros and vosotros forms are? It would be nosotros podemos and vosotros podéis. The third and final root change for ER verbs is from C to sed si. Some examples are aparecer, to appear, merecer, to deserve, pertenecer, to belong, and obedecer, to obey. In this case, the only form affected is the first person singular yo. So the conjugations would be yo aparezco, yo merezco, yo pertenezco, yo obedezco. There are some other cases with ER verbs where only the yo form is irregular, like hacer, to do, and poner, to put. Here, the root changes from C to G. Lastly, we have IR verbs. The endings you add to the root are the same as for regular verbs. So, you add o, es, imos, is, and en. Check out this other video if you want to know more about IR verbs. But for now, let's move on to irregular verbs. In this case, we have 3 different stem changes, starting with the change from E to IE. This change includes verbs like mentir, to lie, which becomes yo miento, I lie. The verb preferir, to prefer, which changes to yo prefiero, I prefer. And the verb venir, to come, which has an extra irregular first person. So, while it's yo vengo, I come, it's tú vienes, you come. The second stem change for IR verbs is from E to I. Here we have the verb pedir, to ask for, which turns into yo pido, I ask for. And we also have the verb repetir, to repeat, which becomes yo repito, I repeat. Next, we have a stem change from O to UE. Here we have the verb dormir, to sleep, which becomes yo duermo, I sleep. Let's check out the whole conjugation. Yo duermo, tú duermes. Él, ella duerme. Usted duerme. Nosotros dormimos. Vosotros dormís. Ellos, ellas duermen. Ustedes duermen. Just like with ER verbs, IR verbs also have a stem change from C to sed C. This change includes verbs like conducir, to drive, which becomes yo conduzco, I drive. It also includes the verb traducir, meaning to translate, which becomes yo traduzco, I translate. And the verb producir, to produce, which becomes yo produzco, I produce. And just like with ER verbs, this stem change only applies to the yo form, so other pronouns are not affected. But that's not all. There are a couple more exceptions with IR verbs. First, we have the verb oír, to hear, which is highly irregular and has a different root for the pronoun yo. The whole conjugation is yo oigo, tú oyes, él, ella oye, usted oye, nosotros oímos, vosotros oís, ellos, ellas oyen, ustedes oyen. The rules apply to the verb salir, to leave, which becomes yo salgo, I leave. Now that we know everything there is to know about irregular verbs, let's watch this fun story to see irregular verbs in action. Make sure you watch until the end to find out what happens.
Parezco preparada.
Comprueba tu pasaporte.
Tengo todo.
Traduzco las direcciones.
Mamá,
Diviértete en la universidad.
hola, soy María.
Yo soy Bea. ¿De dónde vienes?
Vengo de Londres. ¿Y tú?
De Barcelona. ¿Sabes tu parada? ¿Quieres que te ayude?
No, gracias. Tengo todo controlado. Oh, no, no sé cómo volver.
Ven, te ayudo. Sigue este mapa si quieres llegar al centro.
Tengo que bajarme ya. Sigo el mapa, pero no encuentro nada. ¿Cuánto llueve? Increíble. Vuelvo a verte.
If you like this video, you'll love the upcoming beginner-friendly FluentU course. It's going to have more engaging stories with helpful teacher explanations. It will be organized in a way that's more effective for learning and is perfect for beginners. It will contain exclusive content that you won't be able to find anywhere else, clips from movie scenes, TV shows, and more. You'll also get personalized quizzes and speaking questions to make it all stick. To try FluentU right now for free, click the link in the description below and start your free 2-week trial. FluentU is also currently having a sale, so now is the perfect time to check it out. In addition to this new course, the FluentU app also has thousands of authentic videos, including movie scenes, clips from TV shows, TED Talks, and music videos, all of which have interactive subtitles. Each word has a context-specific definition with examples written by language experts, so you never waste time with definitions that are too general or inaccurate, as well as video examples of native speakers using the vocab.
Increíble. Vuelvo a verte.
Hola, ¿sigues usando el mapa?
Sí, pero lo hago mal y ahora nieva.
Muéstrame lo que buscas.
La universidad.
Yo también voy a la universidad.
¿Qué? Increíble.
Ven, pedimos un taxi juntas. Nieva demasiado.
Pienso que tengo que llamar a mi madre.
Muy bien. ¿Almorzamos juntas después de clase?
Perfecto. Muchas gracias por hoy.
De nada, me voy.
¿Qué tal todo?
Conozco a alguien ya.
Cuéntame.
Sí, te cuento el viaje.
Now watch the video again with English subtitles and see how much you understood.
Parezco preparada.
Comprueba tu pasaporte.
Tengo todo.
Traduzco las direcciones.
Mamá,
Diviértete en la universidad.
hola, soy María.
Yo soy Bea. ¿De dónde vienes?
Vengo de Londres. ¿Y tú?
De Barcelona. ¿Sabes tu parada? ¿Quieres que te ayude?
No, gracias. Tengo todo controlado. Oh no, no sé cómo volver.
Ven, te ayudo. Sigue este mapa si quieres llegar al centro.
Tengo que bajarme ya. Sigo el mapa, pero no encuentro nada. ¿Cuánto llueve? Increíble. Vuelvo a verte.
Hola, ¿sigues usando el mapa?
Sí, pero lo hago mal y ahora nieva.
Muéstrame lo que buscas.
La universidad.
Yo también voy a la universidad.
¿Qué? Increíble.
Ven, pedimos un taxi juntas. Nieva demasiado.
Pienso que tengo que llamar a mi madre.
Muy bien, ¿almorzamos juntas después de clase?
Perfecto. Muchas gracias por hoy.
De nada, me voy.
¿Qué tal todo?
Conozco a alguien ya.
Cuéntame.
Sí, te cuento el viaje.
In this next video, you'll learn all about AR, ER, and IR verbs with another fun story. Check it out.